And actually that's the message that's come across so clearly this week, the fact that they inevitably and thankfully enjoy this competitive element. I always remember Annabel Croft saying it's like going to work and having a row with somebody every day in public on a tennis court. If that doesn't come naturally to you, you're probably not going to be very successful.
I'm not sure I'd be very successful, but it's interesting, isn't it? There was a discussion at the start of the week as to would this week especially be beneficial or better for the players who've played recently rather than those effectively coming in cold to a match situation, as you were touching on there, and nothing replicates playing a match. And for Emily Appleton, she hadn't played since November. It was in Estonia. She got to the quarter-final stage. Freya Christie's been out in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. She's had 4 matches out there, but that's been blown out of the water by Appleton's form. She is the only player, male or female, to get the full 15 points. That's the 5 wins, not dropping a set to get to this stage.
Yeah, it's been very interesting actually to follow their development and progress during lockdown. They've had to do some fairly innovative things to keep themselves ready for when the battle begins again, haven't they?
We all have, haven't we? The amount of workouts I've done with my children, that's the thing that's hopefully in the past now. But they haven't been able to train. Initially they couldn't train. Now the top 25 male and female players can go to the National Tennis Centre in London. These two are within the top 25, so they can go there. And then Loughborough was able to reopen, so they had some places to train. But early stages, I remember speaking to Freya Christie at the Progress Tour at the National Tennis Centre in the summer. How have you been practicing? What have you been doing? She said, well, I was hitting forehands and backhands against the side of the house. But when it came to her serve, she got a big serve, Mum Carol said, not a chance. Not a chance. One of those goes awry, I've lost a window. And lockdown could be long. So Freya came up with the idea of getting a bath mat, attaching it to a washing line in her back garden, and serving into the bath mat. And Mum Carol was happy.
So no windows were broken?
No windows were broken, everyone was happy, and lockdown was calm.
Well, you've got to show a little bit of initiative when conditions necessitate. In terms of the conditions here, we've mentioned it's quite cold. You'd think that would maybe slow down the speed of the ball, but the powerful players appear to have been the more successful ones in the main this week, Gigi.
Yeah, it's been interesting speaking to some of the coaches and some of the players. They've said that the cooler conditions, and it's still not as cold as you're making out to be with 2 coats, but the colder conditions added to the balls that they're using this week have meant that the conditions are slow, but the big hitters and Emily Appleton, the serve is such a weapon, and Freya Christie's also got a pretty big game. I mean, it's a wonderful matchup. I should say that it's the 3rd meeting between these two. They met those 2 occasions last summer at the UK Pro Series. Both occasions Appleton came out on top, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this one unfolds today.
Okay, yeah, she will start as a marginal favourite. We are just about ready to go. It's very exciting here at Loughborough. And in the commentary box for this first match of the day, for us, Pete Hodges and Abigail Johnson.
Ladies and gentlemen, UK Pro League.
So here it is, the first semi-final of the day, and indeed the first of the UK Pro League itself, as we race towards the end of week 1 competition. And it promises to be a good one. Emily Appleton having soared through her round-robin group without dropping a set, and Freya Christie having held a match point in the only match she lost. Pete, we could be looking at a battle of the big forehands here.
Yeah, you said it. As in, of course, serving will be key, particularly on this indoor arena at the Dan Maskell Tennis Centre. But yeah, both of these players really do hit a big forehand. And we saw just yesterday, actually, like probably the most that Emily Appleton was tested against Gillen, who had a big forehand herself and was pushing her back and getting her back behind the baseline. So it's all going to be who can get that first strike in, who can keep each other back behind the baseline, because both of these 2 players do have weapons. And it'll be interesting as well to see how much traffic they can direct to the backhand side. Both players admitting that they know that the backhand's slightly weaker than their forehand. But for Christie, we've seen her before. She said herself with the forehand, what's important is that she swings through. As in we've seen when she gets a little bit tight, it can fly. And so that's going to be a real test for her. And of course, the head-to-head being 2-0 to Emily Appleton. Christie's the underdog, but maybe that means she can play with a little bit more freedom. As she is the underdog, probably not expecting to win this match, but she's got the weapons to do so.
Absolutely, and she comes in swinging after her final match in the round-robin stage, just dropping 1 game against Tanisha Dissanayake. So she is coming in on a bit of rhythm. She also actually started the day first on yesterday at 10 a.m. And I think this is a bit of an early start for Emily Appleton. She's been playing a little bit later in the day, and if she's not a morning person, I can very much sympathise with that. So we'll see if there's a slow start for Christie to take a hold of here.
But yeah, you say that result for Christie, that was a great result because they, of course, had that match point against Barnet. And so that would have been, you know, tough, bit of a hangover effect, but what a way to bounce back, winning 6-1, 6-love. And so, you know, that I think would have felt good is in the fact that she's had that tough loss. She's been able to get over that tough loss, then had a great win. So should be brimming with confidence. But talking of confidence, of course, her opponent yet to drop a set. So, and has been tested in one of those sets, 7-5, wasn't it, against Bilchev, the second set that she played this week. But that may be something that might be a bit of a hindrance for her. She hasn't had that many tight matches, whereas Christie's come through a couple of really tight ones, and we're expecting this one to be close.
Exactly. She hasn't really been put under serious pressure yet, Appleton. That said, she was in a few tight moments in her last match against Alice Gillen. That was another straight sets finish, so she kept her clean sheet. But Gillen hitting with some heavy, deep ground strokes, which is something that Christie is capable of. Appleton there just able to find her range on the serve and find her forehand in the pressure moments. She faced break points, didn't concede a single one, and that big moment mentality is something that she's really going to need today in a clash that, as you said, could get close. Yeah,
and you talk about big momentum and being able to play big matches. Of course, was junior world number 10. Has played all the junior slams, so she's used to playing on the big stage, Emily Appleton. And she's been talking a lot about just the importance of getting matches under her belt. She wants to get back to playing international tennis. Of course, ranking down at 693 at the moment. During lockdown, it's so precious and so vital to get these matches in, and what a great opportunity it is here for both of these players to reach a final.
Christie actually no stranger to success here at the Dan Maskell Tennis Centre, Loughborough University. A few years back in the final of the British Tour Masters, she came out on top against a certain Beth Gray, who we will be seeing in action later on.
And that's important what you just say there, because you know you get a good feeling if you win a trophy at an event at an area. As soon as you go through those doors again, you have those memories of, oh yeah, this is a place that feels good. But I don't think either of these players will be lacking in belief.
Well, you will be seeing a few more of them, let me tell you. That wide serve has been biting the sideline for Appleton in recent matches.
Yeah, she said herself, Appleton, that she would have liked the balls to be different. She said they're fluffing up. It's a bit too cold here. She wants quicker surfaces, really, Appleton. You can see why.
Oh, that is perfectly placed.
What a sensational shot that is. Under real pressure there, Appleton, on the stretch, and it ended up just being a flick of the wrist. This is wondrous play. It looked like a good approach from Christie. Always a bit of a danger when you go cross court, but that was some shot from Appleton.
Well, already we're seeing a bit of what I talked about from her last match. Love 30 down, ace, passing winner, big forehand down the line, utilising those weapons. And you would normally expect a player, if they're up against it, to crumble slightly, not get their timing, feel the tightness. Appleton seems the complete opposite.
Well, I did just think the first 2 points, I thought she looked a little nervous, a bit tight, but that forehand in particular there will have made her feel a little better. Certainly allowed her just to settle in. Bound to be nerves, of course, for both of these players in the early exchanges.
Appleton.
Well, that's a strong start. As you say, a little bit of jitters early on, but a very emphatic final 4 points to close the game. And you want to get out of that one without it going to juice, without it going back and forth, just to settle yourself.
Yeah, nicely settled into this semi-final, and as I say, missed that early forehand and might have been a little worried, but 2 nice forehands to finish the game. And you can expect, you know, I talked about her playing with belief, playing with confidence, and you know, she's won all of her matches in straight sets so far, and that's the sort of reaction you expect from someone who is coming into this match brimming with confidence.
You know, she started playing at a young age, Appleton, around the age of 3. Her dad, Michael, was a pro, so she's been brought up around the game. And she saw her junior career out. She played a long time at the junior level. You mentioned she was top 10 in the world. She played some notable names as well, the likes of Bianca Andreescu and Iga Swiatek, both of them winning their maiden Grand Slam titles as teens. She actually beat Swiatek at one time, had 3 meetings against her. So she's definitely faced some interesting playing styles over the years. Oh, come on.
Yeah, super forehand. And not just that, when you talk about the players that she's faced, shows you the difficulty with the age groups she was in. Okay, Swiatek is a couple of years younger than her. And Andreescu is also 1 year younger than her, but that shows you how tough it was on the junior circuit. And I'm sure she would have got real confidence from seeing how they've got on.
Is that in the corner?
Yes, it is. Forehand's on fire.
Well, that's not what Christie wants to see. She won't be phased, though. She's been locked in a couple of tight battles to get to this stage, Christie, winning a match tiebreak in her first match against Olivia Nichols, and then keeping it so close against Alicia Barnett. We were deeply impressed with that contest.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster ride, wasn't it? It was a really topsy-turvy affair, as in I think she would have been a little bit disappointed to lose it. She won the first set 6-2, looked really good early on in the second set as well. But real credit to Barnett, who turned that one around. She adapted her game style. But going back to what I was saying with regards to Appleton, the fact she beat Swiatek as a junior, and then she's watched Swiatek go on and become a Grand Slam champion and be this phenomenal player that she is, that's got to lift someone like Appleton who thinks, well, I was beating that player in juniors. So, you know, if she's top 10, I should be closer, certainly, to the top 100.
And she feels that. She said that herself. It's just getting the opportunities now to be out there internationally. And that's where the UK Pro League is coming so handy, just keeping her form rolling and keeping that belief up that she has in herself.
First serve percentage will be key today for Christie, because if she drops it short, she knows what's coming. Again, Appleton not needing a second invitation to get inside that baseline. Real aggressive tennis from Appleton.
So Appleton survived a deficit, but these are the first break points of this match in her favour.
She'd like that one back. Exactly the shot she would have wanted on the forehand side inside the baseline.
Right, please.
That's well placed with the volley, catching Christie, wrong-footing her.
Yeah, I love this play. When you consider how quick she was to recognise that Christie was going to play the slice there, so charging in, some might call it ghosting in. It was exactly the right move. And did so well, as you say, just to control the volley back in behind her opponent. So what a great start this has been for the 21-year-old.
Coming into this one, would you have said that a quick start was more important for Emily Appleton or Freya Christie?
I think probably actually for Freya Christie, because you know Appleton's beaten her the last 2 times. Both of them were last year, so they're relatively recent meetings. Appleton's undefeated, so I think Appleton's the favourite here. So Christie, you would have thought it's probably more important that she hangs with Appleton early on to give herself that confidence boost, to give herself the belief that she can beat Appleton. So not the ideal start for Christie, but it's all been about Appleton's great play.
15 love.
But going back to what we were saying in terms of the fact she beat Swiatek, and as you were saying, she believes she can get to within the top 100, and that's the goal, and to try and get back internationally. It's so tough for these players. The fact that lockdown came down when it was, Appleton was 20 years of age. That's almost just when you're expecting to start making some waves, start moving up the rankings, getting used to playing senior tennis rather than junior tennis. And yet it's all then stopped and checked. And so, and then it's difficult because you can't get on those ITF events. So this is exactly why it's so important to have a competition like this for top talented players like Appleton.
Love.
Some of these shots off her forehand wing are so close to the line. For a moment, I can't even tell whether they've caught, and she is so going after it.
Yeah, and of course, no line judges here. No Hawkeye either. That one was close, but as we know, Freya Christie very fair. Of course, the umpire basically can overrule the line calls if the umpire feels that it's been a false call. Had a few disagreements
We have.
throughout the week.
It's tough, though, isn't it?
Mm.
With the way she goes after her shots, there are going to be those hits and misses, and she has to ride that and just go with it, doesn't she?
Yeah, it was interesting there that the return from Christie flattened out. And on a surface like this, when you flatten out, it will skid low. So just rushing Appleton, a little bit on that forehand wing. Might have been noted by Christie. Yeah, a bit of frustration there. I think she'll be just a little annoyed with how she started, talking about the importance of the start for Christie. Hasn't quite found her A game yet.
Huge from every area of the court from Emily Appleton. Unbeaten in the round-robin stage, and she is truly bringing that form into the semi-finals. A great start. 3-love up. Looking dominant early stages. Emily Appleton out in front.
Time.
Well, it's It's early days in this match, but Freya Christie with a task on her hands. Appleton racing out to the early lead, consolidating the break. And Christie under some early scoreboard pressure in this first set.
And you're right, in the early exchanges so far, it's been Appleton who's got on top of the points. And so Christie needs to recognise that her opponents started very well, particularly the previous point of the last game. But has got to find a way of making sure she's the one playing on the front foot. Just pushing Appleton back a little further. Needs to find a bit more depth with her shots. Talked about it being first strike tennis. Needs to try and up the first serve percentage as well. Well, right on cue, clearly listening. Can't get any better depth than that.
Your words are drifting over to court, Pete.
Well, we were worried they could hear us at times. We weren't sat too far away. But no, that's exactly the right thing to do. Is in, you know, as we were saying, she plays that forehand with a lot of whip, Christie. It's a heavy ball. And so when she does get depth, it's really difficult for opponents to deal with. So that's what she needs to do a little more of. Keep Appleton way back behind the baseline.
That's what she loves.
40.
Yeah, there's the difference when she finds that first serve. Good first serve, drew the short ball, stayed committed on the forehand.
Big hold.
Game.
A couple of second serves she had to put in there as well. You can understand Appleton going after them. She had a bit of breathing room on the scoreboard to do that, but Christie's going to feel a boost of confidence from having held that one to love.
Yeah, I think she'll be relieved that she's just got herself on the board. Still be a little concerned that she isn't finding enough first serves. I think she was rather let off the hook somewhat. A couple of missed second serve returns there from Appleton. For me, though, Appleton doing the right thing. Keep mentioning it, first strike tennis today. So any opportunity where the ball is short or you get a slowish second serve, both players need to be super positive. They're both good at aggressive attacking players.
Great hands as well from Freya Christie. She actually threw one of them over on match point against Alicia Barnett, and it wasn't enough, but no stopping that one.
Yeah, great foot speed here as well. There was a lot of work to do. The ball was so low, beautifully controlled.
First point of the return game as well.
Just missed.
15 all.
She shakes her head there, but it's the right shot to go for. Doing the right thing.
Was able to get on top of the ball more there as well.
Got on top of the ball more, got her body weight forward, was being nice and aggressive. And as I say, you know, it was a whisker away from being a winner. So it's the type of ball she has to go for today, but just missing the execution.
30-15.
Well, big into the backhands. I think we'll see a bit more of that when things start to get a little bit tight.
It's a devastating serve, isn't it?
40-15.
I mean, if it's that precise, she doesn't really. It doesn't really matter which wing she goes to. It's gonna not come back across the net anyway.
again, I like the play from Appleton. And
40,
keeping
30.
her opponent honest, as in we saw a couple of times, you know, Fred Christie going to try and chip the return back, and same for Appleton. And I think if you throw in the serve and volley, you do keep your returner honest with regards to them not just nudging the ball back in play. Just didn't control the volley on that occasion.
Second serve.
Able to get on top of that. Interesting to see Appleton, the player, switching it up with the backhand slice midway through that rally.
Yeah, I've been impressed. Both players looking to use the slice, trying to disrupt the rhythm of one another. It's not a bad shot to play when you consider both of these players have big, heavy forehands. So if you can play the slice, it can be a little more awkward to deal with. But again, really impressed there from Christie, hitting with better length. She was the one who was able to get on the front foot in the rally. They're just struggling to find enough balls here.
Well, having played juniors, she'll be used to this business of going around collecting her own balls.
Yeah, no ball boys or girls because of the COVID situation. But of course, with this big curtain at the back, it's a ball gobbler.
It engulfs them. It didn't throw her, that little break between serves.
Yeah, second ace of the game. Snatched at that somewhat.
Yes.
He didn't really fully commit to it, didn't get up to the ball. Generally has a pretty calm demeanour on court, and as you were saying, you know, she's an attacking player, so it's good that she can remain calm because she's got to accept that with the brand of tennis she plays, she's going to make the odd error.
Advantage, Christie.
Well, she went after the second serve, and it's put her in a precarious position. A testament to how Christie has upped the ante in this game.
Yeah, Christie has just been hitting with better length, and Appleton will know that Christie will be looking to be super positive off that second serve return, so that might have just been lingering in her mind. There's just been a few errors in this game from Appleton, given really Christie the chance to get that break back.
Backhand in the corner. Well done, Freya Christie. One of the toughest tasks of the UK Pro League this week has been breaking the Emily Appleton serve. And she's just managed it. Christie back in touch. 2-3.
Time.
So Freya Christie with a key break just then, was game points down, able to apply some pressure and capitalise with a brilliant backhand in the corner, forcing the error from Appleton.
Yeah, I think Appleton will be a little disappointed with herself there because, you know, 3-1, 40-15. She was in control of this opening set and just a few loose errors, really. But as you say, Christie was hitting with better depth.
Well, that's what you call a response from Appleton.
Yeah, emotionally doesn't show much, does she, Emily Appleton? But I think inside she will have been frustrated with the previous game that she played. So doing the right thing, taking her anger out on the ball, throwing herself forward.
Backhand, bit of a flatter wing for Appleton. Do you think she should be going for it as much as she is in the early stages here?
I think, as I say, she prefers the quicker surfaces, so I think it's natural for her to keep that backhand nice and low. It's not a bad tactic on these courts, but she's just leaking a few unforced errors, so maybe just bring the margins in right now, trying to adjust. And as you say, maybe that sort of a rally ball shouldn't really be missing it in the net because she is going over the lower part of the net, going cross court.
Well, she swung that serve wide, putting Appleton under immediate pressure. She didn't get the placement that she wanted to attack that return.
Yeah, really smart serve there, that from Christie. Playing the slider off the second serve in particular.
Net for serve. $40-50. Christie.
Keeping this really competitive now, Christie. Smart serving throughout that game.
Yeah, very much so. Shows the importance of finding the first serve there, as being able to rush Appleton. She's settled in now, and she was a bit frustrated with the start that she'd made, but she started to make more balls. First serve percentage has come up. She's hitting with better length, and all of that has applied a little bit more pressure to Appleton, and I'm afraid for the 21-year-old, she's struggled with that pressure, making too many unforced errors right now. It's the world number 693.
Well, that is a well-placed backhand.
And you were saying it earlier, maybe just flattened out a little too much on previous backhands. There's a bit more shape on the ball with this one. Going over the higher part of the net, so knew she had to brush up the back of the ball. Beautifully played.
Another ace. Is that 3?
It's 4, I think.
Well, I'm underplaying
yeah, it is tough to keep track. She is hitting a lot of them right now.
Just as potent down the tee as out wide.
It's a great serve, isn't it? Because you can hit it with a lot of variety. We've seen the cutter, we've seen the slider, we've seen her flattening out.
You knew
Curse
that was
of the commentator,
coming.
isn't it?
You
Always
knew
the
that was
way.
coming.
Always the way.
We'll apologise later.
just coming up on the ball there, lost the top spin. The radar just seems a little off right now for Appleton.
Oh, Christie getting herself right inside that baseline, but just not quite able to finish.
Could be a really important point for Appleton, digging in there. The first time really we've heard some positive body language from her. Big shout of come on. Christie doing everything right in that rally.
Not sure.
And Appleton
Might
digging
just
in.
knocked it back, I think.
I think I completely understand why she shouted come on there as well at the end of that point, because momentum right now is with Christie. That could be another little momentum shift by stealing that point for Appleton.
Nets. Second set.
Well, this match has got closer, but the focus has not dropped for Emily Appleton. She keeps her nose out in front, 4-3.
Appleton leads by tie.
First semi-final of the day continues here at the UK Pro League, and it is the big hitting contest that we expected between these two. Emily Appleton just out in front with the 4-3 hold over Freya Christie. It was key. She was 3-1 up with the 40-15 advantage before Christie pegged her back.
Yeah, and you mentioned there the two big hitting players, and these two players know each other's game styles very well, and I think that's perhaps why we're seeing some unforced errors here. They've got so much respect for each other. They know the weapons that each other have. And so on occasion, you just feel sometimes they are over-forcing, or pulling the trigger perhaps too early in the rallies rather than building the rally.
And we see there again, maybe rushing that forehand a bit much as she saw Christie racing to cover.
Yeah, well, we were mentioning the fact that you had to drop a set this week, Appleton, and but I don't think she would have faced a forehand as strong and as heavy as Christie's. So maybe just struggling to get the timing off that wing. Just seemed a little late on that forehand for me.
30 love.
First ace for Christie.
Fabulous forehand, wasn't it? Right into the corner.
40 love.
Getting herself forward and inside the baseline again.
It's good to see that she was confident enough to go for that kind of margin. She had an open court there and kept it really close to the line.
Yeah, opening the court up really well.
Game.
Well, that's a second love hold for Freya Christie, drawing her level once again.
4 games.
Yeah, certainly in a rhythm now. As in, it was a slow start, wasn't it, to go love 3 down. Finding more and more first serves, looking more and more confident. And right now it's Christie with the momentum.
There she goes again. Can't tire of watching that service quality, though. The way she bites the lines.
I like the technique on the serve as well. It's such a simple motion. No real fuss.
Christie definitely looking like she has a spring in her step, a lot of positive body language from her.
And why not? I think she knows that Appleton's missing quite a lot right now. She looks comfortable. Yeah, the pressure right now is on the shoulders of Emily Appleton, there's no doubt about that.
That really was a battle of the forehands, and Christie winning it, just cutting that ultimate forehand a little bit shorter.
Yeah, it's brutal, wasn't it? Great ball striking from both players. Emily Appleton's trying to stay on top of the baseline. But as you say, whipping around the side of the ball there. Freya Christie dragging her opponent off the court. Phenomenal hitting.
Well, a half chance turns into a solid chance, a couple of them for Christie, who does look on the ascendancy here.
Yeah, I mean, she's just not missing now, and she's not exactly just rolling the ball in mid-court. She's hitting with good length, good ball speed, controlled aggression.
That's great control. There's a lot of height on those balls from Christie. They start to accelerate as they drop down.
Yeah, showing good character here too, as in break point down. It's a bold move to serve and volley. It's not something she's done too often. I think it's only the second time she's done it in the match. Really showing that she's thinking out there, knowing that she probably has to change something right now because, as I say, the momentum is with her opponent.
Net for serve. Net for serve.
Christie may be taken by surprise with the look on the ball on that approach.
Thought it was intelligent again from Appleton. As in, didn't try and overplay it. just went back in behind Christie, so it was an awkward movement. But also, as I say, if you play the shot with slice on this surface, it will tend to die away or slide away. So it means, particularly if you're up the net, it's very difficult. And it's got to lift up on the ball. So 2 very good points there from Appleton.
That's great placement from Christie. She made Appleton back off a bit on her approach.
Yeah, well, Appleton will want that ball back. Don't think she did enough, really, with the approach shot. It's always a risk if you go cross-court, particularly to a strength of an opponent. Christie far prefers the ball on her forehand side. And for me, it just wasn't angled enough and it wasn't deep enough. But Christie taking full advantage of that opportunity.
Third chance here. And the sharp serve just wasn't enough. Christie getting it on the forehand, keeping her shots deep, mixing it up. And from a breakdown, it is Freya Christie who will be serving for the set after this change event. What a turnaround, Pete.
Yeah, what a turnaround. And yeah, you have to say right now she backs herself. As soon as the rally goes over sort of 3 or 4 shots, you get the feeling it's going to be Freya Christie who will win it. Appleton just making a few too many errors, but you've got to say so much credit to Freya Christie. She's hitting with good length. She's hitting with controlled aggression. She's keeping Appleton back behind that baseline when she can. And for me, Appleton just snatching at a few balls. I mean, the worry coming into this match was that Appleton possibly hadn't been tested. She's won every single match in straight sets. It's perhaps a level up today playing against Freya Christie, and she's been put under pressure in this first set. And maybe the fact that she hasn't been put under that much pressure throughout the week is coming back to bite, as in she's probably just starting to panic a little too early in these rallies. But a great reaction from Christie, because it was a bit of a slow start from the player from Nottingham.
Time.
Interestingly enough, we mentioned Appleton to love up in this head-to-head, but in their first meeting at the UK Pro Series last summer, she did drop the opener 6-4. And Christie looking to pick up another 6-4 scoreline here to open this one.
I think also it's the unique format, isn't it, that we're in, as in I think you've always got to be feeling like you're playing with the house's money if you've already lost a match. Usually in a tournament, you lose a match, you're done. But of course, losing to Barnett, yeah, still meant she finished second in the group, still got the opportunity, so everything's a bonus right now for Christie, and she's kind of playing like that. Just feels she's lost a bit of confidence on that forehand side. Felt there she was trying to almost guide it too much. If you lose the racket head speed, you lose the control because you lose the topspin on the ball.
Well, she guided that backhand return well up the line. The serve came straight in at her body.
Yeah, I just wonder whether the adjustment that Appleton's going to make here, we've seen her charge to the net a little more often. I said the fact that when they're both back, at the moment the points are going to Christie. She's the one who looks more like winning those sort of duels at the back of the court. So maybe Appleton's adjustment here is to say, right, okay, well, I'm going to get forward, get to the net, change the look for Christie.
Well, you understand why Christie was slicing. She could sense some discomfort for Appleton, wants to make her play the balls, but maybe needed a little bit more depth on those shots.
Yeah, I think that was a quality backhand, though, from Appleton. It was a high-risk shot to go for, the off backhand over the higher part of the net. Got the control, and as you say, it's not always easy playing off the slice. You've got to make sure you play spin off spin.
half chance to get back in it. And a couple of very clear chances now. And Christie would want to retake that forehand.
15-40.
A little bit wild. And again, it's time for the ball search.
What a moment for it, hey? Well, she went after it.
30-40.
And has made it just. It's one of those balls here where Emily Appleton will have just been hoping and praying it's either going to go long or wide, but finds the corner of the court.
Just dipped at the end, didn't it? Well, one saved. Saved in style. Let's see if she can do the same again.
Just a couple of times has missed in the net.
Use.
Again, that flattening out on the ball, just not quite giving it enough shape. We may get the chance to talk to the winner of the set at the end. But I think if we were to talk to Appleton, she would just say, yeah, I'm just leaking too many unforced errors in that first set, giving too many points away from the back of the court.
Beautifully guided. That is great direction of shot from Christie, noting that she'd pulled Appleton out wide with the serve, and then she was on the run back into court. Off balance there. Set point then. And there it is. For Freya Christie, a pinpoint accurate serve down the tee to close a brilliant comeback. She's up on the scoreboard, takes the first set.
Can you hear me?
So from 3-1, 40-15 up, it went a little bit awry for Emily Appleton. It was still a big hitting contest with both players trying to be the first to get on top of the rallies, but Christie just the more consistent at the back end there.
Yeah, definitely. From the back of the court, she just looked more steady, and it was a really interesting start, wasn't it? It was 3-love straight away out the gate for Emily Appleton, and she looked in control, and really it was Christie who looked a little rattled, looked a little nervous, of course this being a semi-final matchup. But then once she got her first game on the board, she seemed to settle, and she's done a great job of just keeping Appleton back behind that baseline. And so when they have both traded from the back of the court, she's been that little bit more consistent. And I think Emily Appleton will be a little disappointed that she's just made a few too many unforced errors.
Well, on we go with this match. Christie did take the 6-4 opening set on the occasion of the first meeting between these two last summer at the UK Pro Series. 6-week events. Appleton came back to win on that occasion, 4-6, 6-3, 10-5. And she's going to have to dig deep and get some good focus going to come through this one.
Love 15.
Well, she would have loved that one to dribble over on the first point of the set. She had the aggressive positioning.
Yeah, that's the shot, and that's the position she wants to be in. Just flying off the racket there. Again, wonderfully set up. That's the heavy forehand. Yeah, so much topspin on the ball. And then just got too much of that one. But I'd imagine it's a nightmare to hit off that ball, which is why I think we're seeing Appleton struggle today. And when we talk about heaviness of a strike, it means it's got a lot of topspin on the ball. It really will kick off the surface.
What touch, the angle on that volley.
Yeah, that's a sensational point.
30,
I
15.
think the adaptation that Appleton is making here, she is deciding to come forward to the net more often. As I say, she doesn't want to trade at the back of the court. And it's been a good adjustment for me.
Interesting, she went cross-court on the approach forehand, maybe just wanting a little bit more space, but she had the power to make it emphatic.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised she's approached the forehand wing of Christie
40,
more often than not. I'm thinking she'd be targeting the backhand when she's coming forward. Especially because Christie's got the ability to whip up over the ball, which means she's able to then get the ball to dip down to her opponent.
game.
She caught the baseline with it. Well, she was made to get low there, and the spin that she applied to that ball did the job.
Well, I like it. It's almost a casual shot, isn't it? The sort of slice forehand. And not only that, as in we know, as in she said it herself, as in she likes to play the drop shot every now and then. It's a good combination as well if you've got the big forehand strike and then you can play the drop shot on top of that. Just shaping up as if she's going to play the drop shot there and then just floating it deep. And it caught Christie by surprise. But that's a really important first game to win for Appleton, especially. She would have been disappointed. Players are so critical of themselves, and so she will have been well aware she's made too many unforced errors in that first set. And so important just to try and forget the first set and make a good start to the second set, which is exactly what she's done.
She hasn't really let her head drop, and that's something that we've seen from her. Obviously, she's not been challenged really throughout this week, but when she's encountered some tight moments, break points, she's kept that focus, she's kept that composure, and we're seeing it again now. She must be frustrated internally, but you're not seeing it so much from her facially and in her body language.
Yeah, she generally keeps her calm on the court, and as you know, and you've had conversations with her, very, very nice girl off the court, and I've been fortunate enough to work with Nick Brown in the past, who's coached her in the past, and he always said what a great worker she was and what a great attitude she had towards the sport, and we're seeing that here. That was a great start to the second set. Oh.
The lift she got on that forehand to find the placement.
And again, Appleton approaching to the forehand side, maybe slightly more understandable there because she's gone up the line here. But there was a lot of height on the ball, and that gave Christie the time to prepare. Still a fine passing shot.
Great positioning around those shots for Appleton. You could see her with the footwork taking all the little steps around, which can help to disguise as well. It's harder to read where she's going to strike.
Well, she has got a coach sat courtside, hasn't she? Dave Collins, and just wonder what he would have been saying, and maybe he would have been saying, come on, just get those feet going a bit sharper, which will help her at the back of the court.
constant note-taking from David Collins.
Yeah.
It's very impressive to see. Well, this is positive for Appleton. You could see
15-30.
Christie pushed back there, and that's the kind of thing that she'd been doing to Appleton in previous games.
Yeah, better length from Appleton, as you say.
Well, there was
30 all.
a good moment there for a razor-sharp serve, and that one spun away from Appleton's
Yeah.
racket.
Yeah, fair amount of cut on the ball. Playing the slider down the tee. Decided to play the inside-out forehand there, Appleton, and just didn't get quite round the ball enough. Again, you've got to credit Christie, good length, keeping her opponent back behind that baseline.
There we go. What a
Okay,
game to sneak
Christie.
through. 15-30, winning 3 straight points.
1 game all.
Well, how big could that be?
Yeah, it could be significant, as in, you know, we talked about it being a very good first game of the second set, and the fact that Christie, as you mentioned, their first meeting last year, won the first set 6-4, but then lost the match. So we'll want to just keep with Appleton as much as possible here, try and keep that belief going.
Well, what a combination.
Yeah, great length, wasn't it, with the forehand right onto the baseline, keeping Christie pinned back.
It's funny here, you've got 2 players who are still pretty young. Appleton 21, Christie 23. But we were mentioning the other day, Appleton has played a lot, you know, started at a young age, played a lot of juniors. Christie has been around for many years.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, the difference, as in we see another great first serve there from Appleton, but you know, we were talking to Olivia Barnett, and sorry, we were talking to Lissy Barnett.
Well, that would
and
be the
Olivia
name of the
Nichols.
doubles
yeah,
team.
that's getting them mixed up, but yeah, both of those a bit older, 26 and 27, but they hadn't played as much junior tennis, hadn't played as much on the circuit. They'd gone to university in this country, and so, you know, they were still feeling like they're very young. They'd had injuries as well in terms of Nichols, and so they still felt like, you know, even though they're 26, they felt they've still got a long career ahead, and they're just sort of making strides, whereas these 2 players have been on the junior circuit for a long time, had some very early success on the ITF, in the ITF events.
Great aggressive movement from Appleton. And
40
Christie making her first ITF final back in 2014. So you're really stretching it back there. That was alongside Katie Bolter in doubles. She's played with some high-profile British names on the doubles court. She does, in fact, have 13 ITF doubles titles to her name, has come runner-up on 11 occasions. So it just tells you how much she's been out there going at it. And so a situation like this isn't going to faze her.
Yeah, I think it's important as well to have a good coaching team around her, just to remind her that she is still very young. In terms of, I think, you know, I played a lot of junior tennis from the age of sort of 3 to 17. By the time I got to 17, I felt like I'd been playing tennis for so long. I was a bit tired of it. And I think when you have been doing that every day of your life, I think, you know, by the time you're 23, you can feel a lot older on the tennis court than you actually are. And, you know, I think people need to say that you're still developing. It's still a process. It's all about trying to improve.
Nice idea trying to go back behind, but she didn't give herself much space to do it with.
Yeah, I think just got a little bit cramped on that forehand, Appleton. Again, good footwork though from Christie, isn't it? It's very sharp up the court. Very quick to get on the drop shot.
Well, she was 40 love here. And now Christie threatening. Point away from deuce. Just wide as she does come through, and look at that, the fist pump and the command from Emily Appleton. That was a big game for her to hold, and she stays out in front at 2-1. Well, we've been seeing Emily Appleton keeping things pretty level as far as her body language goes throughout this week. She wasn't challenged in the round-robin stage when 10 of 10 sets played, but now under a bit of pressure from Christie and some emphatic commands from her to seal that 2-1 hold and getting really into this encounter now.
Yeah, that's a good point you make as well, in terms of the fact that, of course, let's remember, Freya Christie actually went to Egypt, played some ITFs there, so she had a bit of match play experience this year, whereas for Emily Appleton, this is her first competition of the year, and so that's actually the first set she's lost. So, you know, hasn't been in this position for some time, not since November last year, dropping a set.
Oh, she finds it. Used the ankle there even, Appleton, but Christie is staying on top of that ball.
Such a good mover, isn't she, Christie? And able just to read the play. It's not just all about movement. Look how quick she was out of that backhand position. I think she knew where Appleton was going to play that volley, onto it in a flash.
Could she have done more here?
It wasn't a bad pickup, I thought. Did a pretty good job with it. It's a tough volley to execute.
30 love.
Maybe just could have played it with a little bit more stick, so it might have been a bit deeper and a bit harder. But a very difficult shot to play.
Shorter in the court from Christie.
40 love.
Bit of a chance missed for Appleton on that occasion at the backhand side again.
It's interesting she elected to take it on the backhand. You usually would have thought she'd be moving around to play the forehand. Just feel today that the footwork hasn't quite been as sharp as it has been throughout the week. Again, that may be down to a bit of tension.
Lovely setup.
Game, Christie.
The angle shorter on that backhand side just to pull Appleton off the court, and then she was really well set up for the finish down the line.
Yeah, just beautifully opening up the court. And there's that whippy forehand. Sometimes those shorter balls can be difficult, but the fact that she's got so much topspin on the ball really helps her get it up and over the net. Again, full commitment to the shot.
Love.
Do you think there's a difference mentally? Because obviously we've just had the round robin stage, 5 matches. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. But we're here in the semis now, and if you lose, you miss out on that final.
Yeah, it certainly adds to the pressure. That's what I mean. Sometimes from Christie's point of view, the fact that she has lost a match, we often say, you know, when I'm doing commentary on the ATP Tour, is in you're playing with the house's money if you've survived a tight loss and you've won a match where you've had to save match points because you then feel, well, I probably should be out of the tournament. And that's the sort of feeling that probably Christie will be having here. Okay, they played the Pro Series last year, but you know, that sort of feeling, I've lost a match, lost a very tight match as well against, you know, a rival player, and yet is still here. So as in everything's a bonus now, so that helps you to play with freedom, to look at the positives. Whereas for Appleton, you know, won all of her matches in straight sets. You know, coming into this one, we made her the slight favourite, even though she's actually ranked lower than her opponent. And so maybe that pressure has just got to it, means that she's feeling the nerves a bit more to lose. She'll be thinking, oh, you know, having played so well throughout the week, I should be the one in the final.
Well, that was a statement of intent from Emily Appleton to close that game, taking it on the forehand side in the air, driving to the lead. It's 3-2 in her favour. A little bit back and forth in the first set, but these two are looking closely matched as we edge along in this second. It is Freya Christie playing catch-up on the scoreboard, serving second. On the line, a spot in the final of week 1 at the UK Pro League.
She's just missed that one.
Love 15.
But Appleton has cut out the unforced errors. It's been a better start to this second set than what we saw to the back end of the first set. And that in itself will just apply a little bit more pressure to Christie. No, she's not getting as many free points.
You've mentioned Christie whipping that forehand, and these are traveling pretty high before they dip down. The other one fractionally long, but that one proving effective with the height she got on it as it traveled over the net. Well then, Appleton getting up on the front foot, and Christie continually cross-court with the forehand. It was Appleton that was the first to change the direction of the rally and really make a move.
Yeah, I don't think she hit the forehand as she would have liked that, Appleton, hence why it just got a little nick off the net. But it actually helped her out because it dropped it short, which meant Christie then had to hit up. That made the final put-away volley that much easier.
Once again, it's that slice to pick up from below the height of the net.
30 all.
Now, this was an awkward ball, and it was wonderfully dealt with. It can be tricky. As I say, just going over the net, the backspin, the ball dying away. Just nicely controlled. No panic whatsoever there from Christie.
Well handled.
40, 30.
Had her positioning inside the baseline, was pushed back by Appleton, but just a bit of an overhit down the line. She was right to go for that, though, with the positioning of Christie.
Yeah, I think she felt that she was in a difficult position there, so it was a shot to nothing almost. In terms of, you know, when you're on the run in the far corner, it's going to be tough to get back into the rally. First serve percentages have been terrific for Christie. After what was a bit of a slow start, she's barely missed her first serve, so it kind of feels a little unusual when she has to hit a second.
Persistent with the slice, but Appleton makes no mistake with her timing on that occasion.
Yeah, better footwork around the ball here. Made sure she got fully around it to open up the inside out, and that gave her a better angle to use too.
So close,
Advantage Christie.
but so far.
Yeah, whisker away. Would have had her heart in her mouth momentarily there, Christie.
That ball was travelling lower and
Game,
lower.
Christie.
And what touch from Christie once again. It's not the first time we've seen her hand skills in this match.
We just feel the level's gone up, hasn't it? Since the first set. Appleton certainly raised her game, but Christie raising her own game as well, and that's great sportsmanship from Appleton. Important for her as well, recognising what a great shot this was from Christie.
I think we saw that throughout the match between Freya Christie and Alicia Barnett, just the respect they had for each other's level, so neither of them was getting overly down with themselves, and that was what enabled the level to sustain all the way through the contest. There was no one player beating up on themselves and letting it get to them.
Well, as I've said earlier on, it's always important to recognise when your opponent plays well, as in not to beat yourself up. So Appleton, you know, I think she has recognised that she is playing better here, and then when Christie plays a point like that, you just got to go, okay, that's too good. I think for Appleton, she's got to make sure she keeps making Christie play points like that, not giving away cheap points like she has done just there.
Sailing close to the wind with her forehand placement.
She called it wide and it looked wide from here.
Yeah, I have to say, I agree with the chair umpire here. I did think it looked wide. It clearly felt good off the strings for Christie.
Well, it definitely looked close. I would have leaned wide, but Christie's reaction was convincing, let's say that much. She really thought she had that one. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is. But again, I'm a little surprised that she approached the forehand wing, cross-court. Sometimes you can understand it if she is going to go up the line with the backhand when she's coming forward, Appleton. But the cross-court approach to the forehand side is surprising, because that is the stronger shot for Christie.
First serve. Thirty all.
It was good placement to get through that big point, but still close.
Nets. First serve.
She saw the opening and just once again on that flatter backhand didn't have the height.
Yeah, slightly snatched at it. As I say, it's a tough shot to play that on the backhand up the line. Again, you're going over the high part of the net, so if you are flattening out, it's a risky shot to go for.
Oh, this is a huge moment. It was Christie that had her nose out in front previously for 4-3, and she's looking to break for it here. She looked ready to walk.
Yeah.
Thought that had caught.
I think it was just wide.
Yes.
Good length from the forehand from Appleton. That's a big point to win. She's rather against the ropes here.
Great nerve to hang that off the back of the baseline at breakpoint down, set down. And that's the kind of thing she was doing yesterday against Alice Gillen, stepping it up, went down the break points. Obviously, there's going to be more tightness now. Freya Christie, as a status and quality of opponent, is a step up. It's the semi-finals. Winner goes through.
Advantage Appleton.
A little bit of frustration for Christie.
Yeah, she's got to keep her nerve here. I mean, she's not done a lot wrong. Appleton's generally winning the points to hang with her in this game.
Game, Appleton.
Well, there was some big serves from Emily Appleton to see herself out of a huge game. Stays out in front for 4-3. Well, that was a monumental moment for Emily Appleton, saving break point to hold for 4-3. She is a set down to Freya Christie, so impressive focus and precision under pressure from the 21-year-old. How will Freya Christie respond to that? I'm not sure if that's a complete answer to the question just posed, but Christie will certainly feel some additional pressure, given that Appleton was able to sneak her way through that game.
Yeah, as much as I was saying earlier, Appleton recognising when Christie was playing well. Christie's got to do the same here, because it was Appleton who served her way out of trouble, really, in the previous game.
That's a good response.
15-all.
Yeah, you could see that Christie was a little annoyed at the end of the previous game.
So consistent with the forehand. She was asked the question again and again.
15-30.
Oh, it's terrific tennis, isn't it? Full commitment. Again, Christie using that slice backhand, but getting the rotation on the first forehand, and then through everything behind that one, flattening out too.
Well, it's funny how the momentum can swing once you've saved a break point or two. Pulling her out wide on the backhand side. Good strategy. given how Appleton has sometimes struggled to lift that one over the net. Calm thinking under pressure from Freya Christie. Oh, it's wide.
Oh, what a chance that was.
40.
Bold tennis to play the drop shot from Christie. I actually didn't think it was the right shot here. Bit too much height.
She had all the time on that Appleton.
And I think she just got stuck with her feet there as well for that final ball. Great dig from Christie on the volley to react to the backhand up the line.
Game.
Well, once
Christie.
again, no break points in that game, but another big hold.
4 games all.
Strong under pressure. Edging down the wire here. A reminder that if this is tied at 2 sets all, it will go to a 10-point match tiebreak, no full third set. So Appleton, even though she's a set down, know that she is quite close, potentially, to the victory. And she's chasing it down. How about that?
15
Well,
love.
didn't really do enough for the first volley. I love the move to the front of the court. But just was a little safe with the volley, and it meant that she had to hit another one. Luckily, was just about alert enough. Had to back away from the net. Did well.
Well, that setup backhand was the kind of shot she's been looking for throughout this match, relentlessly going after it, not always quite nailing it, but perfect on that occasion.
Yeah, when she gets it right, it usually goes her way. And again, really good footwork around the ball there. Full commitment to with the racket swing, getting the control with the forehand. Just great attacking tennis from Appleton.
Net. First serve.
Brutal back behind.
40
When
love.
she connects, it stays hit. There's no doubt about that. It's quite a calm, measured manner, isn't there? It's so fluid. Not too much fuss.
She's very level all the way through her matches, Appleton. You don't see much dip or rise either way.
Game.
And that focus has
Appleton.
led her to apply some scoreboard pressure. In the previous set, it was Freya Christie that
Appleton
broke for
leads by
5-4.
5 games to
But
4.
Appleton holds to 5-4 here with a hold to love. And that might just give her a boost of confidence.
Yeah, it certainly will give her a boost of confidence. For me, the level has definitely gone up in this second set. I think the first set, there was just a few too many unforced errors from from Emily Appleton. I think her footwork wasn't as sharp. For whatever reason, she's adjusted in this second set. Her footwork's a little sharper. We're seeing more of the attacking shots that she's going for, going into the court, applying more pressure to Christie. But overall, it's been a high-quality match, particularly a high-quality second set, because Christie's still serving really well. And so with that, she's making life relatively easy for herself on serve as well. And so yet to see a break in this second set. But this was the sort of set I think I was expecting at the start of the match. I think maybe Appleton didn't quite feel as comfortable for whatever reason in that first set, which led to the unforced errors.
I mentioned slightly in jest at the beginning of this match the fact that Freya Christie is more used to she had the 10 a.m. start yesterday. Appleton hasn't had that yet, and I just wonder if that maybe had an impact on a slower start.
Maybe, as in this is something that, again, when people watch on TV, even at the highest level, certain players prefer night matches, some players prefer morning matches, and we all like our routine. And if Emily Appleton hadn't played in the morning before, then it is a bit of an adaptation. She would have maybe gotten used to a sleeping pattern, and maybe that's why she did perhaps feel a little unsettled in that first set.
Very much into the meat of the match here. Christie up against it. Taking that ball on, it's so important, isn't it, for her to just keep going about things the way she has been, not change anything because of the scoreboard situation.
Or both, when they have full rotation, full swing, hit through the ball, they can do so much damage.
She fully cracked down on that backhand.
Well, as we've said, it's led to a few errors, hasn't it, particularly in the net, but because it's so flat, she hits it so hard, it tends to skid through on this surface.
Oh.
That was a chance, wasn't it?
30,
Set the point up so well. It's just been a case of execution on occasion for Appleton. And the difference in this match has been those unforced errors.
Yeah, you can understand why she wanted to change it up there, but Christie's ball's traveling deep and fast. She didn't have as much control that time around. Interesting that Christie with some visible frustration after pushing that one long. And it's still game points, but you would think a game away from leveling that Appleton could smell an opportunity here. Huge point coming up.
Wow, well, I have to say, I thought the serve looked wide. Maybe that caught Christie by surprise, the fact that they played on here. Just pushing that one into the tram lines, and maybe that's just a sign of nerves. Such a big moment, trying to hold to stay in the set.
Oh, she missed it again.
Advantage Appleton.
The off forehand.
Yeah, that's what can sometimes happen. If you don't quite get your feet around the ball, it means that you open the racket face too much to get the angle rather than the footwork enabling that. And again, that's a sign of perhaps some tension.
Always difficult to step up and serve to stay in a set. And she's under real pressure now. Are you kidding? Emily Appleton creeps across the line in that second set. Was so focused throughout, ups the consistency,
6 games to 4.
and moved into the court to take advantage in that return game. Look at the fist pump. That tells you everything. What a set, what a response from Appleton.
Yeah, a bit of a steal in truth, wasn't it? Just a couple of unforced errors at the back end of that game from Christie. And for me, didn't do much with that volley, but did a good job of just getting that ball back in play, asking the question of her opponent. And Christie just snatching somewhat on that backhand. But yeah, well, it's going to be a test now, isn't it, to Freya Christie? We've mentioned before the previous meeting where she won the first set 6-4, then ended up losing the match tiebreak. Not only that reason it's going to be a test, but it's going to be a test because really she was in control. They're up 40-15, and there were just a couple of loose shots and just allowed Emily Appleton back into the game.
You heard that reaction from Christie after the set. Tells you a lot about how that one went down at the back end.
Yeah, whereas Emily, I mean, you just can't tell whether she's winning or losing. It's the same expression, it's the same look over and over again, which is why a lot of coaches like that with their players. Can't tell what they're feeling.
Who would you take here, Pete?
Well, you've got to give Freya Christie the advantage coming into it because again she's just had that big lift. She was probably thinking in that game, okay, look, it looks like it's going to be 5-5-all, but a couple of misses from Freya Christie. It's just suddenly Appleton finds herself a set apiece. She's the one now with the big lift. She's beaten her opponent twice before. She's beaten her in a match tiebreak before, so that would suggest to go with Emily Appleton, but as we've seen with Freya Christie, she's had a couple of marathon matches. She's played a couple of match tiebreaks as well, which is an advantage. That's something that is in her favour, the fact that she's had those 2 match tiebreaks, won the first one, lost the second one, both of them incredibly tight. So it's a new experience this year for Appleton to play a match tiebreak. But yeah, in terms of momentum, you've got to say it's with the Emily Appleton.
Well, one thing's for sure, this has turned into the close contest that we were anticipating. The first semi-final of the day down the wire. It is the shootout, the 10-point match tiebreak to decide who goes through.
Match tiebreak. Appleton to serve.
Well, good to see that immediate move up the court. That sign of intent from Appleton in the first point of the match tiebreak. Just setting the tone. She had the positioning there.
Yeah, played such a good point, didn't she? Got herself up the court again. I think there was maybe just a bit of funky spin on this ball, just didn't adapt to it.
Yeah, fair play to Christie on the back for doing what she needed to.
I just don't think Appleton adapted to the spin there. Good news for Christie for me isn't, you know, that match against Barnett is in similar sort of storyline, wasn't it? As in, had that second set stolen away from her 6-4 and then had to try and decompartmentalize, and she did a very good job and actually started that match tiebreak very well against Barnett before going on to lose it 12-10.
So well done.
Too good. And you can understand the fist clench at the end of that. Terrific couple of volleys here. That was a tough one. Very difficult, that ball there, because you need to decide which way to take it on the forehand or backhand. But she was quick to decide.
So first mini break goes the way of Appleton. Keeping it flowing from the end of that second set. Once again, Appleton keeping good positioning there, but it's the backhand that finds the net. And Christie's doing a good job here, just making her play. There is always going to be more tension in this kind of situation. And she'll remember that backhand was trouble for Appleton in the opening set. All about the placement there, didn't need to blast it.
Yeah, stayed calm.
Appleton.
Just got the cover on the forehand.
Oh, she's feeling the ball well now.
4-2.
Yeah, again, real nice smoothness on the contact point. Again, not trying to overhit. And just stepping up the court. Again, controlled aggression. I think she's just brought in the margins as well. Been so impressed with how Appleton has adapted in this second set.
Always advantageous to head to that first change of ends with a little bit of space between.
Yeah, of course, this being a match tiebreak isn't still a long way to go. Those match tiebreaks that we saw with Christie earlier on in the week were roller coaster rides in themselves, weren't they? That one against Barnett, she leapt out into a lead early on and then got pegged back, and then she had to save a number of match points, got a match point herself before then eventually losing at 12-10.
And even that match tiebreak she won against Olivia Nichols day one. Faced match points, came through deep in it. So she's definitely not afraid of a contest, Christie. Striking was so fluid. That was a big point for Christie to win.
Yeah, great length.
Appleton.
Talked about that at the start of the match, the importance of hitting great length, because Appleton's so good inside the baseline. And we'll give her encouragement, Christie, winning that sort of a duel.
Dumping that backhand again. Not quite getting the lift on it on the 1-2. So the mini breaks are raised. Over on court 2, the first match of the day coming to a close. Ella Taylor taking it 10-5 in the match tiebreak over Danielle Daly. That qualifies her for tomorrow's 9th place playoff. That is big, and you can tell from the reaction after the way the previous point played out for her.
Appleton.
And it's not always easy, as I've said all week, with regards to these overheads, with the lights the way they are. It's good length on the approach shot, right on the baseline. And again, got nice and low down to control the first volley.
Inching down the wire here. These are two both with big serves, and that can be so important in these match tiebreaks where there is very little breathing room. Oh, she couldn't finish it. It was top draw manufacturing from Appleton to get back into that rally, brushing up the back of the balls to stay in things on the back foot, but Christie would not budge.
Yeah, it's great defensive play from Christie, and it's amazing, isn't it? How often do you see it when throughout this match we've seen so many points that have been quick, that haven't really been over 3 or 4 shots, and suddenly when it gets tight, when it gets to the crunch, the rallies start to elongate. Both players wanting to play with a little bit more security. Still hitting with a fair amount of power though, aren't they, both of them? But that was good play from Christie, digging in that rally, making sure Appleton had to play 1 extra ball.
Glued herself on top of that baseline, Appleton, and then picked her moment to run in and finish off.
Oh, what a superb point. Such a big point to play as well. 5-6 down, controlled it from the off, but again, look at this. Footwork up to the ball, and then coolness personified on the volley. Didn't try and overplay it, just smart, going back in behind her opponent. Excellent tennis. Sometimes feel when matches get this tight and there's so much on them. I've often had discussions with other commentators and former players as in whether or not players' levels drop when it gets tight and those pressure moments happen. And usually more often than not, it is the fact that usually one player will feel the tension and the level actually drop rather than go up. The best players tend to keep their level the same all the way through. And you have to say in this tiebreak so far, both of these players have kept their level the same. It's been a high quality tiebreaker. Both looking to do the right thing. Christie looking to get forward when she can. As is Appleton, of course, who's charged the net a couple of times. What a great first semi-final we've got right now.
It is quite the epic now. She steered that wonderfully well.
7-6. Appleton.
It seems ridiculous to say it because it's a match tiebreak, but this is literally going to come down to a couple of points, and it's going to be painful for whoever comes out on the wrong end of that.
Certainly. It's either going to be a moment of magic, isn't it? Maybe a bit of luck. Margins are so fine. As you say, both players have offered so much.
Ferocious hitting, but Christie just pushed off a bit to the side there.
8-6.
Yeah, this is where length is key, but look at that. Both players hitting with such good length. That one's slightly shorter from Christie. And then she was pinned back, just leaning back a fraction on that forehand, lost the control. But it was ferocious hitting, as you say. Both players hitting with such good length and hitting with power and control with the topspin.
Oh, it's just slipped from Christie. Appleton timing that
9-6.
to perfection.
Well, she's missed a few of those balls, hasn't she, in this match? But backed herself here. Gutsy shot to go for. Still a couple of feet behind the baseline. Didn't she execute it to perfection?
Monumental. She's picked a moment here. Look at this. 6-all it was at the change of ends. She's just won the last 3 points, and that makes it triple match point for Emily Appleton. She's done it. What a comeback for Emily Appleton, who sailed through the round-robin stage, but had to think her way through this match against Freya Christie and really work hard to hold her focus. The game face did not shift, and you can understand the frustration for Christie, who brought such a good level to this match.
Yeah, I think for Christie, where it changed for her, that game at 5-4 down in the second set. She played such a good match up until that point. Just a couple of unforced errors in that game, and it allowed Emily Appleton back in. But from there on in, it was really all about the stunning tennis and the tennis that was won by Emily Appleton, who doesn't need to put the headset on. She's going to be interviewed on the court, hopefully.
She is so sharp. She always knows what she's doing. And she's certainly shown that so far at the UK Pro League.
Yeah, and so, well, here we go. This is the statistics. And Appleton, I think we don't get to see the statistics with the unforced errors. I think she would have been a little unhappy with the amount of unforced errors she made in that first set. You were saying maybe the fact that, of course, she was up early in the morning, not something she's used to so far this week. And so there were a few too many unforced errors. She would like that first serve percentage to be higher because, of course, both of these players are front foot tennis players. And so wasn't perhaps able to get on the front foot as much as she would have liked, in particularly in that first set. But she adapted her game. She started to come forward. She started to rush Christie, started to put pressure on the player from Nottingham. And Christie, though, overall, 73% first serve percentage. She can be very happy with that. But it was a match that was of small margins, and it was the margins when it came to the crunch that went the way of Appleton at the end.
She sealed her place in the final. She'll face the winner of Alicia Bonnet and Beth Gray. And we're going to hear from her now. She's speaking to Marcus Buckland.
Emily, many congratulations. What a thrilling encounter. What a sweet victory that must be for you. What was the key to getting over the line?
And I definitely felt that from her side of the court. So I think it was all about just fighting for every point and trying to stay tough. And then in the end, just to keep trusting my shots, which have been going well like all week. So yeah, I think that got me through.
And you had to deal with a different situation because you dropped a set for the first time this week. So what did you say to yourself at the end of that first set today?
I just told myself, like, just keep trusting my game, because in the first set I thought I was trying to do the right things, but they just weren't going in enough. And I also thought Freya played really well, so I thought if I can just keep putting pressure on her, then maybe she might slip up, which didn't happen till the last game, but yeah, just kept hanging in there.
Yeah, and of course it means you're going to play in the showpiece match tomorrow. Just in terms of your tennis in general, how beneficial do you feel this week has been?
How what?
How beneficial do you think it's been for you?
so beneficial. I haven't been able to play a match since November, and it's so difficult to travel at the moment. So to play 7 matches in 1 week is unbelievable for everyone, I think.
And Alicia Barnett and Beth Gray will compete in the second semi-final a little later. I'm sure you'll have a look at that.
Yeah.
Got any feelings as to how that one's going to go? Got a preference as to who you play in the final tomorrow?
No, I've played both before, and I think it will be a good match. So I look forward to watching a little bit of it. But yeah, hopefully they have a good match, and I look forward to playing one of them tomorrow.
And I know you don't necessarily like early starts, so at least you can go back and put your feet up for a couple of hours and have a chat with your coach this afternoon.
Yeah, I've got the whole day now to relax.
Well, many congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in the final tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
So Emily Appleton continues her fantastic week. She was fighting hard. Gigi Salmon is going to come and join me. She's lurking in the wings at the moment. She'll come and give us her thoughts. I must apologise. This mask keeps slipping down, which is incredibly annoying. Gigi, we thought we were going to hit the ground running today, and goodness me, those two gave us a bit of a treat, didn't they?
Oh, it's incredible. I was just watching Emily's coach, David Collins, taking some photos of her. She was carrying out the interview, because this is a great moment through to that final. It was going to be big ball tennis, first strike tennis. And I think the character of both players, Freya Christie to get into the position that she got into, but Emily Appleton, as you spoke to her there, it's the first time she's dropped a set. She's 6 wins from 6 this week. But to drop that set, to gather herself and to come through as she did. And she's spoken a lot about bringing her character to the court, showing people who she is. And you can really see that developing. And as she said, she hadn't played competitively since November. And here she is unbeaten through to the final.
And a word about Freya, who's had some really tough, tight matches this week. That's not the first tiebreak that she's just come out second best in. She can be proud of herself, and of course, as we keep saying, the benefit of this week is that she can go again tomorrow and look to finish third.
It is. It's about getting matches, and when we spoke at the very start, Freya Christie is someone who needs matches to build that confidence, and she was out in Egypt and she got 4 matches, and she's come here and she's had 6. She'll have a 7th one to go tomorrow. The tennis is getting better and better, and you saw her frustration at the end when she thundered that racket to the ground because she was so close to getting through to the final.
Okay, Gigi, for the moment, thank you very much. Of course, we'll have all the matches tomorrow, including Emily Appleton in the final. And later on this afternoon, we will discover who she'll play in that final. Coming very shortly, though, we've got a battle between 2 men who are bidding to finish third this week, and that's after this break.